What's up everybody, Slash here. Today we're going to be taking a look at a fun red deck. So, without further ado, let's jump into it. So here we are, we have Garlic Jr. Now, don't expect a heck of a lot. Obviously, this deck is just going to be something that's fun and something else you can play besides whatever's meta at the moment. So I would highly recommend this deck. It is a lot of fun. I've never really been that big into Wish decks, but this really just feels like an extremely balanced Shinron deck, like we previously had, that was banned. Now, the leader itself, if you don't know the deck already, I'll do a little bit of a breakdown with this, and towards the end we'll talk about the turns 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and what you can expect to try and do. But overall, if you want decks, the links for the deck, you can check it down in the description down below, and I'll have it linked there for you. But what the deck is trying to do is you can play your one costs, so like your Ginger, your Nikki, and your Sensio. You can end up playing these from your leader's effect, and of course once you have all 7 Dragon Balls, then you can awaken. Now the best way that you're awakening is usually you're going to try and mulligan your hand, get 1 or 2 already in your hand if you can. If you can get more, obviously do that. And what you're trying to do is usually on like turn 2 you're going to be awakened. I've had more games where I'm actually awakening on turn 1 with this deck, because I've just found the best balance for the deck, where it works out the best for it. And yeah, so what you're doing is your leader can play your 1-drops. Your 1-drop now gets to search your deck, bottom deck a card, and grab 2 Dragon Balls, either from your life or your deck if you wanted to. And then you add them to your hand, and then you use these effects to place them in your drop. You get to draw 1 from it. And then, of course, we get to the rest of the deck here. So, we're now on the Awaken side. We have the Awaken effect here. You can now play one of your Ginger, Nikis, or Sensios. Entry cost of 4 from your deck with its skills negated for the turn, then shuffle your deck. So now you get to pump out one of your 4-drops, and we'll get to the 4-drops in a moment. Your other choice that you could use for your once per turn effect is activate one of your Desire cards from your hand, and this is the Desire card that we're using. And then the bottom effect here is if your life's 2 or less and you remove all your Dragon Balls from your drop, you don't take damage for the turn, then flip this card over at the end of your turn. So you can just keep yourself alive for a late game. I haven't really gotten to use it that much because, of course, a lot of the times, if you're getting to like turn 5 or 6 with a red deck, that means you're not really doing your job properly. For most of the times, right? So your defense isn't going to be that great, but in general, if you're trying to survive for, let's say, someone's being aggressive to you and you're at 2 lives now, and you just need to pump through that turn from like a Teen Gohan deck, right? Then this could help you stay alive for that turn. Now, for the deck itself, we have 4 copies of the Garlic Jr. Eternal Lives. This is a 1 cost. If you have 3 or more energy, you either draw 1 or grab an Ambitions from your deck, or from your drop, and then add it to your hand. And then, of course, when you play this card, you get to grab pretty much one of your 4-cost 15k or less cards with its skills negated for the game, and then play it. So you've got just a bunch of board presence as well. And usually on like turn 1 and 2, you're going to already be pumping out your 15ks, and then turn 3 you can pump out another 15k. It's very easy to flood your field with this, but never overfill, because that's something that's so easy to do accidentally. So I recommend, if you have like at least 1 Nikki on the field or 1 Ginger, don't go pumping out 2 or 3 of them in like 1 or 2 turns, because then you're going to run out of them very quick, and you don't really have a way to play them from your drop. So be careful with that. And then, of course, we have the little boss monster for the deck itself. It's okay. I mean, on play, you minus 15 to all cards, but luckily, if you have, let's say, this card with Indestructible on the field, right? Then you can end up being able to make these get plus 5k, and then you get this additional effect here, where this one now gets double strike, and this one now gets critical. So those are little benefits for it. But because you're minusing 15k all cards, that also means your opponent. And then when this card is played, if you had Indestructible on this card, then of course this one's going to minus 10 permanently to your opponent's cards and their unisons. So you can get rid of unisons with this, those little 1-cost ones typically that are 10k or less. Yeah, it's not a bad card. Usually what I've been doing with it is like turn 3, 4, and 5, I will pump 1 out each turn. And it's just that pain in the ass for your opponent to have to deal with, because they can't really refix their field if they're constantly getting minused all the time. And then, of course, for the super combos of choice, we're going with Barris because it's a live turn 1. We reveal the red card in our hand, and then it goes to our hand. And then for counters here, we have 3 copies of Topo. It's a little Topo heavy, but that's no problem because we get a lot of free plays, so we have energy to spare at some points. And this card is just really good to store for those turns, so to help you get to your turn 4 or 5. We have 3 copies of Testing Oppositions. We're using it as free counters. It's easy to use. And after images for that little extra -10 to your opponent's cards. Then for the real, I guess, price for the deck, where it starts to have its value, is the 2-cost Gogeta Unisons. We have 4 copies of these. And of course, if you don't know it by now, when you play this, your top 3, add a card, any red card to your hand, and then bottom deck the rest. And then you can +2, and then you get to play 1-drops from your hand. So you can just get more combo pieces onto your field and all that. It's not bad. I mean, you're not going to really use the second effect here because the deck's a little bit counterintuitive to itself, because the effects of these little 1-costs say grab a 4-cost from your deck and add it to your hand, but your leader's trying to say play your 4-cost from your deck. So you don't want to end up taking all the ones out of your deck and add them to your hand, and now every time you want to play one of your 4-costs, you're now going to have to pay an energy to play it. So you just pay attention to that. But in general, it's not bad. And yeah, you have plenty of your 1-drops. We also have the Garlic Juniors and Dark Ambition. This card's pretty cool. I mean, I really love pumping one of these out from my Unison's effect around turn 3. And what's going to do is grab one of your Garlic Juniors Ambitions from your deck to your hand. And of course, you have the extra effect down here, but I never ever end up using it. And then, of course, we also have some free counters here. If you have a Garlic Jr. with an energy cost of 5 or more with Indestructible in play, you can activate this card's counter skill from your hand without having to pay an energy cost. So it's an extra little 15k beat stick on the field. And then, yeah, we have our little 4-costs here. And these are really, really good. I mean, once you have the Garlic Jr. with Indestructible on it, this is now going to be a 20k double strike. And then this one will become a 20k critical. So it's actually pretty damn good in total. And also, of course, if it's in your hand too, you pay 1 and now you've paid 1 for a 20k crit. I mean, that's pretty damn good, right? Then we have our Garlic Junior's Ambitions, the Desire card itself. And what this card is doing is activate main. If your leader's red, you draw 1, choose 1 red Garlic Jr. from your battle area, and that card gains Indestructible. And additionally, if you used your leader's effect to play this card, then you get to draw an extra card. So you're drawing 2 per turn from this card every single turn. And yeah, you're usually doing that from on average, turn 3 onwards. If you can get one set up on a turn 2, that's also great too. And if you're just seeing 1 every single turn, beautiful. Then we have the ultimate for choice. We're going with Shinron. I mean, it's a part of the deck. And of course, I just happened to pull it, so that's why I'm running this as well. But if you don't have this card, I mean, another choice you can always go with is you could go with those promos. So let's say Defeating Demon or the Broly one where it's a 25k Servant critical. And then you just use Overlord from your leader, bottom deck it, draw 1. That's also a good choice as well. Just that little bit of extra damage on your field if you're not going with an ultimate. And then, yeah, then we also have for 2 little extra cards. I know it's 58, but you got to remember that your 7 of your cards, they're going to be dealt with in your drop on turn 2. So you're technically just running 51 cards. So yeah, we also run then 2 of the Goku Pan Trunks cards. This card has served me very well, the minusing your opponent's field, and of course because your Unison's adding 2 markers every turn, and then using this, you're adding that additional marker. So if you wanted to push for going with a Activate Battle here, where you -4 and swing for 30k double strike to your opponent, this helps you pump that out a little bit quicker. And if not, then of course you can play this as your boss monster for the deck around turn 4 or 5. And then yeah, then we have for the Z deck itself, we've got the Garlic Jr. Chain. This is a Deflect Barrier, 1 cost, and if you gave this Indestructible, this is going to be a 15k beat stick, and then you can pay 1 energy. If you have 3 or more energy, you can play the 3 cost from under this card on top of the card. And then yeah, this card is a 25k deflect, and then of course it gets this effect here. If your Garlic Jr. is under this card, when this card is played, choose 1 of your opponent's battle cards. It gets -20k for the turn. And if you have 4 or more energy, you can activate main, play the 5 cost on top of this card in active mode. Now you've got your critical 25k, and then of course it has the permanent, If it has indestructible, it gets 10k power and double strike, so you'll be a 35k critical double strike to your opponent. And when this card attacks, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards or unisons, ignoring barrier, and it gets minus 30 for the turn. So it's actually pretty solid. I've done this a few times now for like a good like turn 4-5 damage. So you're just going from one to the next to the next to the next. Then for sideboard choices, there's a lot of inspiration from other people out there. I've tried these out. I'm not a fan of them. The King Piccolo, it's great, and it can really help search your deck for more of your demon clans. But I just don't think it's that good. It just takes up so much space for the deck. Radiant Sands is a great choice to run if you don't have any other ultimates. I mean, you can run any in general, but Radiant Sands, I've tried it with it, and it really clutched a lot of games for me. Then we also have the Shinron chain you could do with the Desire. It's not bad, but I don't think it's that great because you're not really using that much energy in your hand each turn. So the effects of these don't feel as great anymore. I mean, if it said like choose one, draw two, that would be great, rather than switch 2 energy to active mode, because it's not that great. And then of course we have the defeating demon itself, and yeah, this is more or less the deck. And then like your turns 1, 2, 3, and 4, I would say on average you're going turn 1, you're trying to awaken obviously by getting your Dragon Balls. So if you can get as many Dragon Balls as you can in your hand, and then you mulligan, and then get as many as you can after that. Then, of course, you're going to straight away use your Dragon Balls, put them to the drop. Then you use your Leader's Effect to end up going for your little 1-drops. So you play one of your 1-drops. You place one card from your hand at the bottom of your deck. You search your life and your deck for 2 Dragon Balls, add them to your hand. And then, of course, you use them again. So trying like maximize your chance of getting Dragon Balls in your hand. And then you can now pay one of your energies for your turn 1 to play another one of these, bottom deck another card, search your deck or life for 2 more Dragon Balls, and yeah. And then for your turn 2, you can end up just either playing a Gogeta Unison. If you don't have your Unison or you don't want to play it, you have other choices as well, where you could play your Ginger or your Nikki. And yeah, of course, you've got your Leader's Effect here, where you can play one of your 4 costs from your deck with the skills negated for the turn, or you can activate one of your Desires. So you could end up on turn 2 playing a Garlic Jr., use your Desire that's in your hand, give it Indestructible, and now you get to draw 2 more cards, and this will be a 15k beat stick for the turn. And then, of course, additionally, on turn 3, you can end up playing a Garlic Jr. Eternal Life, which will play another 4-drop for you. Then you could use your Leader's Effect to play another 4-drop if you wanted to. But be careful that you don't overflood your field, because it's really easy to lose all your 4-drops and your beat sticks, and now you're left with nothing. So be careful overfilling, but it's really easy to avoid that, because you see it happening as you're doing it. As you check your deck, you start to notice less and less of your 4-drops. So yeah, that's more or less the deck. And then on your turn 5 and 4, you're just going for your big boys, and then you're swinging for game. You're minusing their cards. In between, you're using free counters, and of course your topos on typically turn 4. Turn 4 is where you just want to stall them. So, for example, you play a Garlic Jr. here. You minus 15 everything. Give this Indestructible using your Leader's Effect. You draw 2 cards. Then now there are permanently minus 10 more onto your opponent's cards for that turn. So that's minus 25k to your opponent's cards. And then on top of that, you swing 3 times with this. You keep 2 energy active. Your opponent attacks you next turn. You pop down a topo. If they counterplay or somehow like a T-blow your topo, then you can end up just using a bunch of free counters. So, that's the deck. I hope you liked the video. If you like it, you like it. You don't, you don't. And thanks for watching. Peace.